Today my partner Ashley and I will be refuting the idea that the United States needs to implement a path to citizenship for long-time undocumented residents. First, I want to clearly define who an illegal immigrant actually is. A foreigner who enters the United States without an entry or immigrant visa, especially a person who crosses the border by avoiding inspection or who overstays the period of time allowed as a visitor, tourist, or business person. Keeping in mind that this is illegal, we shall present our counterclaims against our opponents now. My opponent's first claim is that creating a path to citizenship for undocumented immigrants will have positive economic benefits on the United States economy. I would like to counter that we cannot accurately conclude the economic effect of illegal immigrants without also taking into consideration the cost. Even if one does not have citizenship, the U.S. government is still responsible for paying their emergency medical expenditures and incarceration costs. The Federation for Immigration Reform estimates that of the illegal aliens living in the state of Pennsylvania alone, cost the state a whopping $285 million per year as of 2006. They estimated that those costs could rise to $812 million per year by 2020 based on the continuing rise of illegal immigrants in the state. The total fiscal burden from illegal immigration borne by the state's taxpayers is considerably higher than these estimates because they cover only a limited number of outlays. If the full cost of administration of justice, such as cost of leasing, processing trials, interpreters, medical expenses, and other incarceration costs beyond the salaries of the incarceration staff were included, those estimated costs would greatly expand. We cannot deny that there is money generated into our economy by illegal immigrants. However, undocumented workers are not evenly distributed. In areas like southern Texas and Arizona and even parts of Brooklyn, undocumented immigrants impose a substantial net cost to local and state governments. Immigrants use public assistance, medical care, and schools. Some immigrant neighborhoods have particularly high crime rates. This creates an imbalance and an uneven distribution of government resources to people who are not even citizens of the United States. Now I would like to address my opponent's subpoint. The American government recognizes the money the United States will save if undocumented immigrants are made citizens. His evidence for this was that in 2013, Congress attempted to pass legislation that would allow undocumented immigrants to become citizens. It had been passed in the Senate but not in the House. I would like to point out that similar bills have been introduced every year from 2005 through 2014, and so far none of them have been passed. Therefore, I have no indication that the U.S. government believes this will save them money. My opponent's second claim is that undocumented immigrants are denied representation and certain individual rights, although they are residents of the United States. I would like to counter that we should not condone illegal immigration because it is a violation of law and unfair to people who enter the United States legally. First and foremost, entering the United States without proper paperwork is a violation of law. The Federation for American Immigration Reform states that it is our sovereign right to regulate who is legally admitted to the country, and it is being massively undermined by illegal entry and refusal to leave at the end of an authorized stay. They estimate that the illegal population of the country is between 11 and 13 million persons and has been rising recently each year by about 500,000 people. Other reputable researchers have estimated much higher illegal populations. Secondly, allowing people who enter our country illegally to gain citizenship is unfair to immigrants who have followed the law. It encourages more unlawful immigration in the future, and if we were to grant amnesty, it would have a substantial price tag. An exhaustive study done by the Heritage Foundation has found that after amnesty, current unlawful immigrants would receive $9.4 trillion in government benefits and services and pay more than $3 trillion in taxes over their lifetimes. That leaves a net fiscal deficit of $6.3 trillion. That deficit would have to be financed by an increase in government debt or raising taxes on U.S. citizens. Thirdly, I would like to point out that we already have a way for people to enter the U.S. legally and apply for citizenship. If you are already living here, you do not have to apply for an immigrant visa. Instead, you would apply for a permanent resident green card through an adjustment of status. The advantage of this is that you won't have to return to your home country or complete visa processing. If you are outside the U.S., you will apply for an immigrant visa through consular processing in the U.S. Department of State Embassy. In both cases, there are some key steps to follow. Someone must sponsor you in most cases, or file an immigrant petition for you. Once the petition is approved and there is a visa available in your category, you can either apply for a green card or an immigrant visa. Then you get a medical examination, go to an interview, and finally you receive a decision on your application. There are special circumstances for those seeking asylum or who are being persecuted to be entered into the United States. After you have been living here legally with a green card for at least 5 years, meeting the following requirements: that you are at least 18 years of age at the time of filing, able to read, write, and speak basic English, and a person of good moral character, then you may finally go through the 10-step naturalization process, which includes preparing and submitting the application for naturalization, taking the U.S. naturalization test, and having a personal interview. Then, after all of these things have been completed, you will receive certificates of naturalization and citizenship and your proof of U.S. citizenship. No, it is not easy to become a citizen, but this is important because it protects our country's ability to regulate who is entering and trying to become part of our great nation. Thank you.